Hey everyone, Sly47 here. Welcome back to Push Yourself. Now today we're going over ship grinds and when should you grind them, especially for newer players. I want to kind of do a little bit of a ranking in terms of what should you go for first, and then what should you go for once you've gotten the basics down in this game. And then of course, when you're feeling like stress testing yourself, I have a few ships for you to actually push yourself to the next level in having to put together all these different skills that you've learned from all these different videos and just playing in general to put towards one ship line where all of a sudden now you need to really play to really make these ships work. And also at the end, I'm gonna add a little island of misfit toys at the end of grinds that maybe you should not do or dodge or only go up to a certain point because yeah, they're not really that worth it. You don't really learn much from it. So let's get into it. Veterans, definitely I'm going to be breaking this up in easy, medium, and hard difficulties, and of course the island of Mr. Toys at the end. So I'd love to see your links or your lists down below if I'm not going to screw up everything in this video. Let's get into it. Now, first up to bat is the easy ships. Now, I'm not saying that they are always the easiest ships in the game and they will always net you big calibers or anything like that, or they're really easy grinds all the way through. What I'm basically saying is that these ships generally are fairly forgiving and have what I would call a low skill floor. So what that really does is it makes it so that you're going to generally do well in them, even if you haven't learned all of the skills in the game. But these all do teach you key critical concepts within the game, so let's get into that. First up being the Shimakaze. Now this entire line, this entire grind will teach you a lot about concealment and torpedoes. Not necessarily guns except for the Akazuki, kind of an odd one out there, but everything else will teach you how to aim those torpedoes at long range. They're very forgiving and you're able to stealth up very quickly if you need to, if you're accidentally spotted. It's a very forgiving line in my opinion. It has a lot of firepower, but of course, if you miss your torpedoes, it's rough. It is rough on that side, but when you do hit, you hit. Now over to the gearing on this page. Overall, the gearing line, the entire grind, is really overall what most people call is mediocre. But that's not really bad when you're a DD. When you're just a solid DD being able to do your job of getting into caps, contesting caps, corping battleships, shooting your guns, using smoke, learning how to move in smoke, the gearing line really does teach a lot of good skills for players, and I really suggest it to all early players that want to learn DDs, is that this line, it might not always be the most fun, I'll admit, but it's going to teach you some key critical concepts of how to play a DD and how to do just about everything with one, so then you can expand your knowledge on other DD lines later. Now from a jack-of-all-trades DD, let's talk about a jack-of-all-trades cruiser, the Des Moines grind. These are really, in my opinion, the most basic bitch cruisers around. They do everything. You want to contest a cap? Check. You want to push on DDs that are in a cap? Check. You want to help out a battleship? Check. You want to burn down planes from a CV? Check. You want to just do everything in a game and help support and win the game? Check. The Des Moines grind is great for you. If you want to just learn the basics of how to be a good cruiser commander, the Des Moines grind is great for that. There's a few rough ones, I'll admit, in this grind, and probably the tier 10 does need a little bit of love, but at the same time, in my opinion, Des Moines will teach you all the basics that you need to be a good cruiser commander because it's just set up to do just about everything. Now over to the Russian counterpart in the easy category, which is the Alexander Nevsky grind. These ships are ultra accurate, great fire starters, and want to stay at max range. But the even better part is because of that fire starting capability, it teaches you how to manage fires throughout, and it teaches you also when to use AP and HE, because the AP on these ships are nasty and not enough people use it because, oh man, oh yeah, DDs, they'll think that, oh, this ship wants to stay away from me, I'm gonna get close to it. No. So this ship line will teach you a lot about accuracy and a lot about managing fires on enemy ships. It's a great ship line, very easy to play as long as you play it as that long range sniper, and the entire ship line allows you to, which is even better. These are great support ships, help out your BBs. You're always going to basically have the range to help them anyways, and they're quite fast and nimble, so keep moving, keep using all the skills that you've learned within this series. Now to the battleships of the easy mode grind. The Montana and Yamato, both of these grinds and both of the ending ships are really great for most of their tiers. There is very rarely a bad ship in that line. I would say rough, but they're overall good to pretty much solid ships, and that really helps reinforce the basics of how to play a battleship in this game. You've got tankiness on the Yamato side, and you've got a lot of guns on the Montana side, but you've got different skills. You got more precise aim with the Yamato that are harder hitting, but you have rapid reload, a lot more shells out of the Montana. They both have great AA in my opinion for covering yourself, so you don't need to always be by a cruiser, but they also have decent armor, so they're going to be able to hold up against a lot of ships in this game, so they're very forgiving as well. So if you are wanting to learn how to be a good battleship player, learn how to shoot at range, learn how to be the tank for your team, both of these realistically can do that for you, and they're relatively easy grinds. Now to the last ship in the easy mode category, we have the Midway. My opinion, and also in many others, this is kind of the most forgiving carrier in the game. It's kind of just got everything. It's got great dive bombers, some people would say probably too great, and decent torpedo bombers and great fighters. It teaches you everything about how to be a good carrier commander and not just, carrier snipe the enemy team. Help out others, destroy DDs, you win the game. Okay, that's my only tip that I can give you for being a carrier player. Sorry, I don't play carriers. Onto the medium ships. Now, these ships are not necessarily better than the easy ships. All these are, and my entire definition of all these grinds is that if you have your basics down, now in these grinds you can actually focus on the more specializations that these ship grinds bring, so you can teach yourself multiple different skills within them, and or a very specific skill that just is very usable throughout many battles in World of Warships Blitz. First up to bat within the medium category is the Z52 grind. Now these are AP monsters that have HE that is still actually fairly usable, that most people kind of shy away from, but you're going to be wanting to generally be shooting AP. This will teach you how to use small gun caliber AP and really damage ships a lot, but you also have very forgiving torpedoes, smoke, and sonar, so you can absolutely be a cap bully and also stay and hold your caps incredibly well. This is all about that pushing playstyle and or that hunting on DDs. So if you want to do that and you want to learn that and you've learned the basics of how to be a good DD player, this is where you're like, okay, now the enemy DDs are all my prey. Let's go have fun. Onto the only cruiser in the medium category, the Worcester. Now this is the William Defoe or the ultimate support cruiser ship line. Now this entire grind, you are low caliber guns, but amazing skills that just help everyone out. You want to help the DDs hunt other DDs? Check. You want to help support the battleships in doing damage and starting fires? Check. You want to just create a no-fly zone in your area at the higher tiers of the grind? Check. You just are that support ship in any battle. It's rough when you can't be the main character and do that insane amount of damage, but these ships can still rack up big calibers quite easily depending on how the enemy handles you. If they shoot your main tanky ship that's right next to you, you're going to be able to rack up a lot of damage. You're going to be helping your team out with taking caps, killing DDs, helping burn down battleships, helping prevent your team from getting hit by carriers. These are the ultimate support ships, and if you don't have your fundamentals down, these ships will not be fully utilized and help your team as much as they really truly can. To the Yueyang grind. Now these are basically the American DDs, but with radar, deep water torpedoes, and really good guns. So you're trading out a lot of compromises, but the main compromise is those deep water torpedoes, because now you no longer are that DD that can knife fight and launch those torpedoes off and let the other DD run into them. You now need to stay at range, but you do have that radar, so you can still go after DDs and hunt them down, all while hitting with a lot of damage with those deep water torpedoes on battleships and cruisers and carriers. These are very powerful ships, but I would definitely master other DDs before you go to the Yueyang line, because they can be quite a jarring experience to a lot of DD players that just aren't used to the idea that those torpedoes don't hit other DDs. Into the battleships of the medium category. Now, every single one of these are solid ships in my opinion. But they all require one skill over the easy ships to really fully utilize their capabilities. So let's get into them. Grosser Kurfurst, it's all about map positioning. If you position yourself poorly in the Grosser Kurfurst line the entire grind, you're either going to die way too early or you're just not going to do enough damage. So you really need to learn when to push, when not to push, when to go after particular ships. It will greatly help you if you just learn a little bit of map, basically positioning and control. To the Vermont grind, now these ships are slow, they are heavy, but they are tanky and they hit like truck, and it's great. But to me, the skill you need to learn is accuracy, because if you miss, you might be missing out on literally 1/10 of your firepower for that game because of just how slow that reload is. So make sure you can hit at max range so you can fully utilize these ships, because when you can smack with these ships and hit a lot of your salvos in a game, oh, it's worth it. It's so worth it. But you miss, these ships can be pretty rough. Now onto one of the newest grinds. In my opinion, the Cristoforo Colombo line, you need to learn how to disengage from a fight. And this ship line actually really teaches you to. So it's very a forgiving line, as long as you can learn when to shoot sap and when not to. A video for that. But this ship line, you're able to use that fuel smoke to realize, hey, I've taken too much damage. Let me turn around and get out of here. Get out of this engagement, using that fuel smoke to safely remove yourself from the battle so you can go and heal up. It's a great skill to learn on so many other ships, but this ship line, because of its kind of more super heavy cruiser status, in my opinion, it's able to do it a lot better, and it teaches you on the way. But if you don't know how to do it, these ships just get vaporized by gun damage. Not by torpedo damage, luckily, but by gun damage, these things can get melted pretty quickly. Conqueror grind. The skill you need to master these ships is let go of the HE and embrace the AP at times. Please don't always shoot HE. Its AP can be absolutely insane on other ships. So many people just look at that fire chance and then completely ignore the AP. But the moment you start using AP on these ships, on this entire grind all the way up to the Conqueror, you will notice your average damage going up. And that really enforces you to think, because of course, battleships have long reload. You need to know when to preload, when to even use your rapid reload to make sure you have the right shell type loaded for the enemy that is coming at you right now. Highly, highly focus on that. Else, these ships are, the entire Conqueror line is very basic battleships. So it's very easy to play it off the bat, but this ship line is going to teach you exactly what to fire and when to fire and how to really utilize both types. Next up, Malta. Now, this was a scourge of the game for a little while, but the nerf has definitely helped that. This ship line, though, you're generally going to need to learn how to use torpedo bombers a little better because of the slower torpedo speed on them. Their fighters aren't as great, so you're going to want to make sure you're baiting your fighters well, and then on top of it, those dive bombers are just devastating, so you want to make sure that you're baiting the enemy fighters well so that you don't lose out on all that damage that you can do with those dive bombers. It takes a little bit more skill from what I know of how to play carriers, but it's a devastating ship in the right hands, and I highly would suggest going up it once you've learned a little bit of that fighter baiting that helps out and really helps defeat other carriers. Now to the last of the medium category, the Republique grind. Now these ships are very lightly armored, but they have a lot of firepower to them, so make sure you understand your skills incredibly well so you can maximize your firepower out of these ships to make up for the lack of armor you have. Also, don't get caught out too early. Make sure to pace yourself in these ships because they have enough speed to really get you killed. Onto the hard area. Okay, so these grinds will teach you a lot, but also can be incredibly punishing. So make sure, okay, you want to learn something, just understand these grinds can be a little rough, but once you learn these skills that these ships offer, you're going to be a better player overall, in my opinion. So let's get into it. Onto the daring grind. Now, these are single launch torpedo destroyers. These are cap controllers, but they have the skills to do just about everything in a game while adding in the decent guns but insane torpedoes that they offer throughout the grind. But they are not forgiving at all, because you send off an entire line of torpedoes, an enemy moves just an inch and they miss. So you really have to know how to use these single launch torpedoes to the fullest. The skill floor on this ship is incredibly low, but the skill ceiling is incredibly high because of just all of the skills you need to learn with this ship, because they aren't particularly tanky, but the beauty is that they're so maneuverable. They can dodge anything you throw at them. Onto the Halland grind. Now, this is all about your fire and flooding capabilities. These are your MMO players. This is all about that dot damage, not talking about raw damage. They do have super fast torpedoes throughout the entire line, great AA at 8+, but outside of that, they have horrible armor, horrible DPM, unless you get those fires and floods. And once you start learning how to set a fire on this ship, let that cool down because that person repairs, shoot someone else, send out torpedoes once they've healed, everything like that, managing multiple enemies at a single time, these ships teach you a great concept of managing multiple enemies, all while racking up insane amounts of damage. And the Halland isn't just the best thing for this. There are other DDs that can do this exact same thing, but the Halland line teaches you how to really effectively use that fire chance and flooding chance of all DDs in the game in order to rack up damage and burn and flood people down. On to Holland's sneaky pestering cousin, the Haragumo line. So this entire line is all about insane rate of fire, the death by 1,000 cuts, but a lot of people just don't utilize it to its fullest because the entire time, you're meant to be that pestering enemy. And if you've ever had a game where you literally look around a map and go, how the crap is that person still alive? $5 says they learned a little bit from a Haragumo player, or they learned it from that line's grind, because that entire line teaches you to be that player that, hey, I'm here. Yeah, you know I'm here. You're on fire, and I'm just going to keep on hitting you, and most of the time you can't really do anything against me. And that teaches you, it forces you to do it, because if you play this like any other DD, they're too slow and too big. They just can't do it. But their guns can murder DDs. Their guns can do so much in smoke and over islands, and then their torpedoes with the torpedo reload can just dump so much damage. But you get caught out, you're screwed. So it's a lot of high risk, high reward, and when you can finally make this line work, you really do feel like that pestering little cousin of yours that won't shut up. Now to the French cruiser grind. Now these ships have horrible armor, horrible AA, but they have pretty decent long-range fire starters. But we have better ships that are long-range fire starters. So what is this ship doing in the hard mode? And it's all because of the skills that this ship brings and the guns that these ships bring. Especially with the recent dispersion buff, these ships are devastatingly powerful when you play them right using the correct map control and team help. These are your flank pushers. These are where you go, hey, my team needs help up north. I'm down south. I can be up there. Just give me like 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to be up there. That's how fast they are. They are excellent at that. But even better, with their skills, they can be excellent ambushers. You see a person out by themselves, even a battleship, these things can gun them down because of how much firepower they bring to the table in such a short period of time. They are all about that burst damage. If you get caught out and you don't have your skills, these ships are very bland. But when you have those skills, good luck taking them down because they'll probably kill you first. Now into the Italian cruiser grind. These ships are incredibly powerful and will win the game for you in the first 2 to 3 minutes if done right, because they are excellent DD hunters but have no support skills. And that is why they're in hard. They're hard-hitting sap and decent AP in my opinion from the many guns that this ship line has. Just make them incredibly hard to play, but their skills keep them alive. But it's the skill of the player that makes them so capable of winning games early on in a match. So make sure you know DDs fairly well to utilize Venezia well, and it will treat you right back to a very high win rate, because this ship is just so good at staying alive early game with that fuel smoke, all while just ripping and tearing through any DD it runs into or light cruiser. And that is why, actually, you'll get focused pretty hard in the Venezia in a high DD amount game, because this ship will be the MVP of the match. And that's it. That's why the Venezia is such in a hard position. So make sure you know how to be a great DD hunter, but not rely on your skills. And finally, we have the Minotaur grind. Now, these ships have incredibly fast firing guns, powerful torpedo suites overall, extremely weak armor, decent AA, mobility of a DD, and smoke and sonar at the top. These ships are dangerous. They are AP only, so they're incredibly hard to shoot if you don't know where to shoot Bowser and superstructure. So you have to learn the arcs, you have to learn the firepower of the ship. Add on top of it, you have to be sneaky in smoke, you have to make sure you don't get spotted in smoke, you have to make sure you don't get smoke shot in the smoke because you are quite large, but also you have to be a great DD hunter, you have to take on battleships all together. It's just an entire problem for this ship, but it handles it so well because it just has such this firepower package on it. And I would highly suggest, if you want to learn how to be a better DD/cruiser player, the Minotaur line is great for it. But I will tell you, that armor will get you killed often. So make sure you play this incredibly sneaky. Make sure you have islands near you. Do not play this out in open water unless you have your smoke. And add on top of it, know exactly how to engage targets when you want to engage targets, because you have that concealment to do that, because that AP at close range on, of course, Bowser and superstructure is devastating, and those torpedoes just rack up damage on top of it. So be careful on going up this line, but at the same time, it is so worth the reward with the amount of risk you put up. Okay, now that we got the ships that actually teach you something, let's talk about the ships that either don't teach you something, need reworks, are memes, of course, and or are ships that need buffs. They just aren't worth going up in general. So the Grozvoy and Khabarovsk line, these are just pure gunboats. The Grozvoy line does have usable torpedoes, so that does make them marginally better, but in my opinion, the spread is so wide that commonly you don't really get the full firepower of those torpedoes, and the guns are just, they're good. They're not amazing. Both of these lines definitely need a little bit of love, except minus the Utiloy. That's pretty much it. Now, the Kleber line, this entire line is all about the meme. It's all about the speed. It's all about just being the fastest ship in the game with really slow turning guns. They're light cruisers. They're okay. Their torpedoes are whatever. Their AA is non-existent. You can tell it's all about that meme of the speed, and I hope that they eventually can get some buffs and nerfs to kind of make them not just the meme, but make them a usable meme. Goliath, insane fire chance, but horrible range, massive in smoke. Wargaming has talked about a rework, but that doesn't seem to be happening. So Goliath will once again pretty much keep on staying in its little corner that everyone goes, it's just the Goliath. It's just, you don't go up it. So Hindenburg, this line, I think it's just been power crept by so many other ships. It just needs some love. It is a great DD hunter. It has great AP. The entire Hindenburg line has just the insane AP that you can just do so much work with. But the tier 7, 8, and 9 are just in such a rough state. I can't suggest this line grind. You can go for the tier 5 and 6. That's a really fun one. But the tier 10 and, I should say tier 7 and above really need some help. They just all, when you look at their stats, they're literally they're mediocre of all the other cruisers, and they need to be special in some way. And I really hope that they can give the Hindenburg some love. I know some people can make it work, but at the same time, most can't so highly. You don't really learn anything from them, unfortunately. So Kremlin, 25 seconds, reload with okay guns and shotgun accuracy, really bad armor. If you can't tell, these ships don't really teach you anything. They're just so bland. When you want harder hitting guns, go for the Vermont grind. You want shotgun accuracy that is actually worth it, go for the Montana or the Christopher Colombo or the Conqueror. Like, there's just better ships in so many different areas that the Kremlin doesn't teach you anything that adds on there. The entire line is a bit rough. The Synop is kind of an odd one out there. It's quite fun. But Kremlin doesn't teach you anything within that grind, so I highly suggest stay away from it and go towards other ship grinds that I've suggested. Now for the Zhao, in my opinion, this entire line, 8 and above, are the most powerful ships in the game. But the problem is yes, they're stealthy, but they have horrible AA, horrible armor, they're insta-dead on spotting, they're insta-dead via carriers, they're insta-focused by everyone because they're such weak armor, and they're just gigantic DDs that if you get countered by even one of your things you're meant to be killing and meant to be countering, you get killed. And that's the problem with them, is they're just so weak. And the Zhao line, I just can't suggest it when it'd be better to either go down a gun-focused cruiser line or a torpedo-focused DD line. You're going to learn the same techniques. You're not going to learn from the Zhao as much as I wish you could learn from that line. The Takao is a great ship, but after that, it's just too... It's got so many counters to it. It's got so many counters. And then finally, we have the Pietro. Horrible DPM, amazing shell arcs, just laser beams on it, but it has enough armor that it takes every shell, and full pens happen on it all the time. It's got horrible AA. Yes, it's got the 360 turrets, but it has no support skills to defend itself from any DDs, so add in the horrible DPM, it's just a ship with no purpose. And it's a really rough time because I was really looking forward to that. Just the 360 degrees, it does offer a very different style of play to any other cruiser in the game, but that DPM and the armor, horrible AA, just kill it in the current meta. So you don't learn anything from the grind, so do not go up it, focus on other cruiser lines. And that's all of the grinds talked about, especially for newer players. I know I've done a previous video similar to this, but I found that in Push Yourself, there's a lot of people going, hey, what should I grind first? What should I grind in second? You know, how should I learn from certain ships? I wanted to kind of highlight that in this video for newer players so that they can go down the right ships to go, hey, I need to learn this skill. This ship line will help teach me this stuff, or at least help encourage me to learn that stuff. So I'm hoping that this video helps. If you like and enjoy this content that the Push Yourself series has done, or all the content that I put up on this channel, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on any platform. Links, of course, in the link tree down below. Hit that notification bell, of course, to see whenever any new content comes up. Special thank you also to the Patreon members who help support this channel. If you want to help support this channel even further, it's $1 to $5. The link, of course, is in the link tree down below. And at the final, join up on streams. Have fun with us. Join up on Discord. It's a blast to have so many people on, so many different opinions, and just doing solo counts or massive drops on Matchmaker to mess it up and watch people get skirmish games in regular matches. It is kind of fun, but hope you all enjoyed this series. I don't think I have another Push Yourself planned for a little bit, but if you know of a topic that I missed, please let me know in the comments down below. I do have another series past Push Yourself, but I'm going to kind of break away from Push Yourself for a little bit, have a little bit of fun. We're getting into the summer months in North America. I'd like to kind of embrace the summer fun, get back to maybe some tier makers too, which I know a lot of people enjoy. So thank you so much for all the love and support on this Push Yourself series, and I can't wait to see what this brings out in the community, helping grow and push this community to be even better. Have a good one, everyone. Peace.